episode 581 comes to you live on the 19th of October 2022. We are 3 days removed from the hype. In exactly 72 hours, that is this Sunday, we're going to have a match between two countries, or rather, more than that, as the rivalry goes up to the highest echelons, but we won't go into those details. It's a match between two countries which has been happening for decades and it will continue to happen for decades. But whenever this match happens, the way the broadcasters start the campaign, create the campaign, make it into some kind of a huge deal, making a mountain out of a molehill. But that's what we love as individuals, to create mountain out of a molehill, creating rivalries which do not exist, creating situations, and then with what happened last year when the streak was broken. The streak was 12-0 and then it was broken and it became 12-1. But not the first individual or the first team to have the streak broken. But that's how sport is. You may go on to win 20 matches in a row, whether it's singles, doubles, team game, whatever. But to lose one, and the effort of winning those previous 20 matches has no value. You lose one and it's as if everything restarts, and it depends whom you lose to. So this Sunday, the pseudo media, the broadcasters, and whoever has a strange affinity for these kinds of matches in this particular sport is leaving no stone unturned to make sure that they make the hype up to decibel levels which can exceed noise pollution. If there's a decibel level limit for noise pollution, the rhetoric created by this particular match goes up to those levels which will break all rules. It can even break the sound barrier. Such is the rhetoric, such is the hype created around this particular match. And the interesting part is that whether it's magazines, newspapers, electronic media, or even pseudo media, everyone has bought into the hype, bought into the jingoism. So I thought, why not expand that jingoism? Let's expand that jingoism. What will happen? Looking at last year's results and the ensuing situation that happened after that, we'll come to that part later, because that part is something which has made individuals go berserk. So, with respect to what happened last year when the streak was broken and it became 12-1, and the ensuing Asian Champions Trophy where it was 1-all, but there is no connection to the 12-1 streak. So, what happens this year? Well, most of the individuals are saying that our rivals, our competitors have a bigger chance because they have the perfect team, they have the perfect blend of batters, bowlers, all rounders, and a team who knows how to get their opponents out. Our team has been affected by injuries. Two of our good, decent bowlers, including an all-rounder, has been ruled out due to an injury, which has affected plans of the team management and the cricket board in general, which means the 15 chosen are not perfect. There are elements missing. There are flaws in the team. But let me tell you, every team has its own share of flaws. Look at the example of our rival, that is the rival for the first match. They don't have a backup wicket keeper. So if something happens to the regular wicket keeper, they do not have a proper keeper because they made it up by having extra fast bowlers. Here we may not have a fast bowler whom we think would have done the job because we have an extra keeper. So if you're only allowed 15 players which can go, then you cannot have everyone. After that, which 11 plays is something that we can debate for the rest of our lives. There is no end to who plays, who misses out. The whole discussion around having a left-handed batter, leg spinners to left-handers to off spinners, all these matchups and jargons. I think such jargons do not affect the individual who watches. They only want to watch a good match. Of course, they want their respective team to win, whether it's on this side or on that side, because one country's rival is another country's jingoism. That's how it works in the world of sports. So who knows what will happen? How can I predict? If we go by last year's results, and I can give you a lot of examples where things did not go right for a lot of teams. But that's how the sport is played, and that's how the sport is hyped. And that's something we have to be careful about. We cannot buy on previous year's result. Well, we did buy on the 12-0 streak and it was broken, but there's a caveat. There's a possibility that rain may affect the match between these two, which is on Sunday. The time for it, I think it's better for the listeners to find the time on their own. That will be a much prudent task. So rain may play a role. In fact, we have seen warm-up games, normal games being affected by rain. And when I look at the weather chart, it says light chance of precipitation, but a light chance of precipitation may turn into a heavy shower. That's how things are in Australia. It can rain anytime, and if it rains, it can be a start-stop match. Means the toss is done, the teams come out, one team is batting, one team is bowling, the teams bowl 10 overs, then there's rain. But 10 overs is good enough to have a match. So they are, let's say one team is 80 for 2 in 10 overs, and the rain come pouring in. The other team has to only bat 6 overs and they have to follow the Duckworth-Lewis method, in which whatever the calculations are, they get a target of 16 runs in 6 overs. They start their batting after going through rains, torrential rains, and after the umpires and the match officials and the groundkeeper have made sure that none of the patches in that particular ground are dangerous for the teams. They have cleared it, everything is set, the batters come out, they bat a couple of overs, it rains again. And this time it rains so much because you need 6 overs at least for a match to have an official status. What happens? The teams share the points. And no one wants to share points, but you can't do anything about the rain. And you cannot blame the governing body, because even if you cannot plan for rain, if you have released the schedule 1 month ago and this was the only time when you could organize a tournament in Australia, you could have done it in January, but it did not happen, so we are not going there. So what will exactly happen in this match is anyone's guess. I'm not going to predict anything because, well, at this point it's difficult to say. Both teams, according to me, are at an equal level. The 12-1 streak may not bother anyone. Anything is possible. Yes, few elements are missing from each team, but then that's how it is. You have selected the best 15. Those who have missed out have missed out. There's nothing you can do about it. It's something that has to be let go. You cannot take all the boxes. If you want to take all the boxes, then maybe 20 players should be allowed. Maybe the reserve individuals should be part of the team. If you're only going to allow 15 players and 5 reserve players can only come into the 15, if one of those 15 is injured or something happens, then it doesn't make sense. Allow 20 if those reserves are anyways traveling. But the International Cricket Board has a rule. They have set this rule for decades and they are following it, and everything seems hunky-dory when they are following the rules. Then let's go with the rules. But one thing that has made things a little more annoying is suddenly this obsession by a magazine saying that a few individuals are on the wrong side of 30. For me, this is nothing but less than bigotry, because it's not just in sports, it's in general also that there is certain kind of prejudice against individuals who cross 30 or into the late 30s, as if they have no energy left, as if they're not 35, they're 75. Well, I can give examples, but I'm not going there. But I'm going to read an interesting article from this particular magazine. This may not be a squad that ticks all the boxes that anyways shows the prejudice. A lot will depend on men on the wrong side of 30s. I don't agree with this term, it's bigotry. Rohit, Kohli, Karthik and Ashwin, they're on the wrong side of 30. They're not 70 years old. They're not on wheelchairs or walking sticks. They are still fit enough to play and they're still young. 35, 36 is not old as is deemed even outside the sporting world. About how they want to shape their individual legacy while blending it in with the team's cause. I don't know what that means. Kohli, for once, could shed his grouse over his exit from captaincy and stop venting ire through caustic lines at media interactions. I see nothing wrong in him venting ire. You have the freedom of speech and expression. You can vent ire as much as you want. He needs to look ahead and show to the team if Rohit is to lift the title on November 13th. But that's all we want. We are obsessed with it. If you don't lift the title, when we'll once again come to this. Why were individuals on the wrong side of 30 in the team? Why didn't we have a 2007 like team? Just disband all the 30 plus individuals, get a couple of 25, 26 year olds who have been playing for the past few years, give it to a captain whose captaincy was nothing more than an accident and an experiment. But what happened in 2007, we all know. So we won't go into those details. But saying wrong side of 30s is something that I would have not. I would have had this line removed. But that's how this magazine works. They think they are being very realistic and pragmatic by having these lines. You're not only targeting them as sporting individuals, you are saying tomorrow if they were to leave the sport, they have no contribution left. Well, how does it work is something that still baffles me. I don't know how does it work. What's the obsession with 30 plus individuals, and then you say 40 is a new 20, and then suddenly you are using terms like senior citizen and super senior citizens. I don't even know why we use such terms, but we have to use such terms, and I do not agree with it, and I'm not going to fall for these things. But if the magazine has said it, they have said it, I'm not going to agree with it, and that's how it works. But then there's another interesting article. Rohit will be leading India for the first time in an ICC event and at the age of 35. This could possibly be his last World Cup as far as the 20 over format is concerned. We don't know if this could be his last World Cup. A certain individual with height more than he should, who is respected when he doesn't deserve that respect, played till the age of 40. He played his last World Cup at the age of 37 and a half, 38. When we didn't object to that, why are we objecting to someone at 35? I can give the examples of a Sangakkara playing till 37, a Jayawardene playing till 38. We didn't object to that. But then that's Jayawardene and Sangakkara with whom we are obsessed, with whom we are ready to kiss their backsides if the need be. That's how it is. If this was Aaron Finch from Australia is 36 and a half and nobody is minding him being captain. David Warner is also on the wrong side of 30, nearing 37 very soon, and nobody is minding that. Glenn Maxwell is reaching 34, but nobody sees that. That's the difference. We look at the players at 34, 35 as old and depleted and no longer useful. Well, if there are a couple of 35-year-olds in other teams, we are ready to kiss their you know what if needed. And if it's a question of wrong side, well, then there are a couple of commentators who are on the wrong side of 60s and 70 plus, and it's time for them, in my viewpoint, to go because they are boring. Their analysis no longer has any value, even if they provided value as a player. Well, they have been doing it for the better part of 4 decades. I won't take names because I think you can guess whom am I talking about. We don't talk about that. So it's fine if commentators are at 60, 70 unless they decide that they no longer can travel and traveling has taken a toll on their health. That's a different story. But we don't care if we call them pundits and experts. They're not pundits. They don't even have the look of that. They're not experts. Just because you have played 100 matches, it doesn't matter because you have not evolved. They're still stuck in their own time. Oh, my time was this. It was such a wonderful time, such a pleasurable time. We used to do this. Times were simple. There was no pseudo media. The media was not as involved as it is today. The media did not have a skin in the game. The media was not investing as it is today. Now everyone is investing. Everyone has put in their money, cash or kind. They're either sponsoring or they're putting their money directly, whether it's the broadcasters, whether it's the pseudo media. And pseudo media has become this place for, we all know what it has become a place for. It has allowed individuals to say what they want, and despite rules, those rules have no meaning and value, and no one takes them seriously anyways. So there are a few commentators on the wrong side of 60s and they're strict in their own bubble. They're not ready to pierce that bubble. Well, then who should replace them? We never talk about it. Well, I'm ready, as I've been saying for so many years. I'm perfectly ready. I won't fall to the rhetoric. I won't fall to jargons like leg spinner and off spinner and wide ball and red ball and bigger boundaries and short boundaries. These things have never affected me. For me, it's a simple game of bat and ball. The same shot can go for a six. The same shot can be caught at the boundary. The same shot can be swept for four, and if the batter misses, he's LBW. The same shot when the batter leaves the ball can miss the stumps. On another day, the same shot when the batter leaves the ball can hit the stump. So it's a simple game of bat and ball. It's a game of skills, as any sport is a game of skills, but it just needs a bit of freedom. When we get too much into jargons, it really makes it too boring. Too much of jargons, nobody wants to hear. It should be simple. 4, 6. It doesn't matter who comes in the power play, who should bowl in the power play, whether the power play restricts certain kinds of bowlers. These things don't matter. Because if I was a captain, I would surprise and I would open with Chahal. I wouldn't care about such jargons and such minor things. I would say I'm opening with Chahal, I'm going to surprise everyone. And if that surprises the commentators, I'm not bothered if it surprises the commentators. While we can speculate what will happen on 23rd in that game between the two countries, rain being a factor, in the practice match, which was supposed to happen this evening or this afternoon rather, rain played a huge role and rain affected the match, which means they did not even have a chance to go for the toss. But one can say that that's Melbourne, but the match will happen. This is Brisbane in another part of town. But as I said, Melbourne is anticipating light precipitation around 7 p.m. local time, which means the light precipitation can turn into heavy downpours. It can affect the game totally, it can affect the game partially, but rain may play a role. I won't say will play a role, but it's going to be in the minds of the officials, but there is nothing they can do about it. There is no roof in the stadium. The roofs are expensive to construct and maintain, so let's not even go there. And since ICC has completely taken over the tournament, they have their own rules. There are no rest days. There is no rest day for even a semi-final. That's how they have somehow squeezed to get the qualifiers and the main matches, and it seems as if too many matches are happening. Well, that's everyone's point of view. If many matches are happening, no one is asking you to watch because the qualifiers don't really generate interest because it's happening between teams like West Indies and Zimbabwe and Scotland and Ireland. Who cares about these teams? They're not India and Australia and New Zealand and England and our neighboring countries, as they've already put together this formula that one from India, Australia, New Zealand, England, South Africa, and our neighboring countries, two neighboring countries that excludes Afghanistan can win. If they've already set this prejudice, then why would we bother about teams like Scotland and Ireland and Netherlands and Zimbabwe and Namibia and even West Indies? Why would we bother about such teams? Because they may reach the qualifier level, but it could be a possibility that they will lose all their matches. So why are we bothered about qualifiers? Well, the International Cricket Board did not have time to organize the qualifiers at a previous stage because of the cramped schedule. This was the best time. This happened last year also. But last year nobody felt that too many matches are happening. It's just the time. The time is 1:30 p.m. Indian time. The time is happening at 9:30 a.m. Indian time. And therefore we feel it's happening too early. But it's happening according to the time zone of that country. So just accept it. If they're organizing two matches in a day because they want to finish this tournament in 4 weeks, then accept it. Everyone has accepted it. The broadcasters, the stakeholders involved. So if the viewers don't want to watch both the matches, no one is asking you to, no one is inviting you to. Watch which you feel is good for you. But don't complain. Episode 582 will be live on the 21st of October 2022.